My name is Paul LeVan. I am the chairman of the Lebanon County Recovery Group, Disaster Recovery Group, that was formed because of Tropical Storm Lee and the hurricane in 2011. And we wanted to come before the commissioners to give a final report and a wrap-up and tell you a little bit about our activities for the future. And I'm going to do that apart. And Don Beatty, who is the vice chairman and also the volunteer coordinator and did a lot of the coordination for the job cleanup that we did, and he's going to give a report. First, I want to thank the three of you commissioners for the assistance that the county gave to the citizens of Lebanon County. And I also want to thank the Emergency Management Agency and the cooperation that we have formed with them since the storm, and it's something that's going to continue. I want to first off thank you for the administrative grant of $8,000 that helped to cover our costs for training, and in the future will help us in forming the Citizens Response Corps, or CERT team, that the county EMA director asked if we would oversee and form for the county. It's a response team that would fill in when maybe there would be a disaster that first responders might not be available in a particular community right away, where we would train people. They would go through, I think, approximately a 40-hour training program on how to do some basic rescue things, that like a two-man team or a three-man team might use, how to use a fire extinguisher, and how to provide assistance to the community. The first responders are going to be first aid, CPR training. As you know, the storm affected many people in our community. I mean, there was literally thousands of people on the FEMA list. And we wanted to thank you. As you know, there was many groups in Lebanon County that were active in forming our group. And we voted to continue to become what is known as the Lebanon County VOAD, of which the Long-Term Disaster Recovery Committee will become part of that, along with the CERT team and any other portion or other jobs that we might pick up that the county would ask us to do for them. We will actually become part of the county response team. When you open up the EOC, for example, if they see a need for a representative from our organization, we will have people trained that will respond to assist the county actually in an EOC operation. So that's where we're looking for in the future. We're not going away. We voted to stick around. We know that there's a need in the county. It's made up of church groups and many of the other nonprofit organizations that are active in disaster in Lebanon County, and I'm certainly sure that you're aware of. I would like to ask Don to actually give you a wrap-up report. He's the man that kept all the statistics.
My name is Don Beatty. I'm the vice chair of what was then the Lebanon County Disaster Recovery Group, and now the Lebanon County VOAD. Also representative of a nonprofit group called the Lend a Hand, which is based out of Camp Hill, Pennsylvania. And seeing as how I'm the only one that had any kind of experience as far as disaster recovery and so forth with Lend a Hand, it was kind of natural that I did the same thing here for where I live, Lebanon County. As Paul said, there was somewhere in the vicinity of around a little over 4,000 FEMA claims here in the county, which was the third largest in the state. My job was the disaster volunteer work coordinator. In other words, putting volunteers in the homes of the people that need it. We worked in 114 homes over the course of 2 years. We had somewhere in the vicinity of about 200 volunteers, and a lot of volunteers were multiple. Worked many houses, many times. For the most part, they were local volunteers here from Lebanon County, but we had a large percentage from the central Pennsylvania area. We had one group that came up from Gaithersburg, Maryland many times, and I would like to think that it had something to do with the work that we were doing, but I also gave them Lebanon Bologna, and they kept coming back.
Actually, Ron helped with that.
Yes. And they were a very productive work group. We actually rebuilt about 3 dozen homes, and the rebuilding process encompassed everything from repairing basements to going into the first floor of some homes and repairing those homes as well. We spent somewhere in the vicinity of around $26,000 as far as grant money was concerned from other sources. And in many cases, the homeowners fell into one of three categories. They were either elderly, disabled, or financially unable to take care of themselves. In several cases, they fell into all three categories. We finished our last home, which was in Annville, on the 3rd of October. It's a significant date in my life. And I'd like to reiterate the thanks to the county for their help, all the church groups that helped, and many of the nonprofit groups that also pitched in. My job basically was to coordinate all that, to put the people in the homes so that they could help the homeowners. The homeowners were, in many cases, wonderful people to work for, and I met a whole different group of volunteers that are just, they're the best. I hope we never have to go through this again, but one of the things I think that helped, at least for me to do my job, was the fact that as a group, the recovery group, we didn't waste time. We were, excuse me, we were one of the first organized in the entire state, and we got the job done. So.
Very good. Thank you for your efforts.
I'd like to thank you, and I'd also officially like to turn over my packet of receipts from all of the bills that you've spent. And I will no longer be the treasurer of the group since it's closing out, and the new CERT will elect a new treasurer, so thank you.
And thank you, Commissioner, for
Yes.
your assistance.
Thank
We
you.
appreciate that a lot.
VOAD is volunteer,
Volunteer organizations active in disaster.
okay, and CERT is community.
It's Citizens Emergency Response Team,
Yes.
I think.
Okay.
And John,
The balance of the grant that you gave us, because of the way it was to be used, we still have funds left on that grant. And I spoke to John as well as his people, would we be able to carry that money over? And he said he didn't see any problem with it. And I would please ask you to let us do that, because we need to still meet and we still need to pay for the training of the volunteer groups that will become involved. We would ask you to please do that if you can see a way to do. I think it's just maybe over $4,000, is it not, Jamie, that we use? I don't have the figure in my head. It's somewhere around
As
that.
long as there's no time limit on the, and it's used for.
That's all, well,
Yeah.
please, sir, that's what it'd be used for.
I
And
think you've been very frugal with the dollars.
Yes, and I must add that was huge as far as allowing us to spend the additional grant money purely on the homeowners, as far as taking care of administrative costs. One of the things that we found that some homeowners did receive a FEMA grant, and in many cases that grant money barely covered the cost of getting a new water heater and/or washer dryer. In some cases it covered one, but it didn't cover the other. So they still fall under the category of needing either clean out assistance or clean out assistance and rebuilding, depending on what was in their home that was affected. They got some money, but again, it wasn't, I can't recall any that it was enough that it also covered the cost of the home.
And sometimes they didn't have the money for their deductibles. And
Yeah.
part of what the group did, like Mary Ann did the calling, but Shem Heller was part of the board. And so there were times that people were depressed and, they would refuse help, but they really needed it. They were living in mold and, so it was a matter of counseling and things like that. So there was a lot went on. They really did a lot of work. It was great.
I'd like to recognize and acknowledge John Wilson as our new EMA director this morning.
Thank you.
John, welcome to your first meeting in that capacity.
Thank you very much. Happy to be here.
Congratulations, John.
Thank you.
Been a long time dedicated employee.